What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Cronkite Sports Live. His name is Drew Andre. My name is Andre Sims, or, well, simply Drew Andre Sims if you want to save some space in a tweet. But we've got a ton of great stuff on this show today, don't we, Drew?
That we do, and no bigger news than a little basketball game that happened last night. If you had a pulse and you live in Arizona, chances are you may have been aware.
Probably.
Arizona State and Arizona in the Territorial Cup. And Wells Fargo Arena was rocking. The student section filled up nearly an hour before the game even started. Arizona jumped out early. 9 minutes in, the Wildcats were up by 17 points. But not for long, as the Sun Devils, led by Cody Justice, who was doing it on both sides of the floor. He had 9 of his 19 points in the first half. So ASU poked their way back into the game nearing halftime. To start the second, the momentum favored the Sun Devils, and with 17 minutes left, ASU had their biggest lead of the night, up by 7. But from there, in steps DeAndre Ayton, who was quite simply too much for Arizona State. He shot 10 free throws in the second half, and the Sun Devils couldn't keep him off the boards. The future lottery pick ended the game with 25 points and 16 rebounds to lead the Wildcats to a 77-70 win over the Sun Devils. And you see the stats right there. So a lot to digest, and our WCSN basketball reporters, Braden Bell and Rob Werner, will help break it down. They were at Wells Fargo Arena last night.
Hello there and welcome into WCSN's continuing coverage of Arizona State men's basketball. Alongside Braden Bell, I'm Rob Werner at Wells Fargo Arena, where the Arizona Wildcats just took down the Arizona State Sun Devils 77-70 in this edition of the Territorial Cup. Braden, in the first half, Arizona really got out to a hot start. They were up as many as 18 points, but then the Sun Devils came back a little bit. They actually went up 7 points in the second half. Do you think they just kind of ran out of gas at the end of the game?
You know, you mentioned it was a furious comeback. Arizona started out hot. I mean, they look like the best team in all of college basketball, folks. They could not miss a shot. Arizona State, on the other hand, they couldn't make a shot. I mean, it was ugly, and you could really feel the tension in the air here at Wells Fargo Arena. Then all of a sudden, almost on a dime, it switched. Arizona State was the hot team, and the Wildcats were struggling. And in fact, it was only a 1-point halftime deficit for Arizona State, which really felt like a miracle if you're an ASU fan. And then in the second half, I think what you said, it might be right. I mean, it's tough to come back from a big-time deficit, 18 points, the largest deficit ASU faced all year long. To come back against a team like Arizona, not easy, with their size, with their talent. I mean, just everything they can possess, it can exhaust you, and I think we saw a little bit of that. Arizona State struggled in the second half from the free throw line, just 1 of 6 from the line, and also just shooting open threes, normally that you would see Trey Holder make, for example. He could not make those shots in clutch time, and it was really just a worst-case scenario because when Arizona State was fading, the Wildcats were peaking at the right time.
And we can't talk about this game, Braden, without talking about Arizona's freshman phenom, DeAndre Ayton. He had 25 points, 16 rebounds. What is so special about Ayton?
Emphasis on the freshman. I mean, he's a man, folks. He's not playing like he's a first-year college player. I mean, Bobby Hurley said it after the game that he might be the most talented big man he's ever seen as a coach or a player. And he's seen a lot of good ones. I mean, he played at Duke, like you guys know. So, I mean, that right there should tell you how good this man is. And it was interesting tonight because there was a stretch in the game where he didn't really score. His impact was still felt on defense, obviously, and also just drawing double teams. Then, when things got tight, with about 10 minutes to go, he said, all right, my game, fellas. Give me the ball. I'm going to go win this game. And everything he did was turned to gold, pretty much, for Arizona in the crunch time. And he's just so special. And he's going to carry – if Arizona's going to make a run in March, it's going to be on the back of DeAndre Ayton.
So, Braden, Arizona State suffers this loss to Arizona. They get swept in the season series. But what do you think this game meant kind of for the program and the fight that ASU showed?
You know, there's no moral victories, and Bobby Hurley's never going to say that. None of the players are going to say that. But, you know, from my perspective, tonight was big. I mean, this place was the largest attendance ever for a game at Wells Fargo Arena, believe that or not. Over 14,000 fans, mostly ASU fans. When Arizona's come to town in the past few years, you've seen a lot of blue and red, but not so much this year. There were a lot of ASU fans, large majority, I would say. And, I mean, it was just an incredible atmosphere. Bruce Buffer, you know, said the starting lineups. This was a show, kind of like the Oregon game. Remember that? I mean, all those celebrities were there for the Oregon game. Tonight was just like that, only amplified even more. So Bobby Hurley's obviously done a lot of great things with this program. This loss is a setback. There's going to be growing pains. They're not there yet, but they're closing the gap between Arizona and Arizona State, closer than it's been in years.
So with this loss, Arizona State moves to 17-7, 7-7 in conference play. They're going to head next week to Oregon to face Oregon and Oregon State. But right now, alongside Braden Bell, I'm Rob Werner in Wells Fargo Arena, Cronkite Sports.
First pitch for ASU baseball is tomorrow at 2 p.m. And before the team takes the field, Nick Batters has a look at what head coach Tracy Smith's depth chart will look like.
Opening day is upon us, and for some reason, it still isn't a national holiday. We're going to make up for that, though, here at CSL, as in advance of the start of Sun Devil Baseball's 2018 season, I'm going to bring you through the projected starters at each position. Behind the plate, Lyle Lynn is going to see a majority of the playing time. At one point, it was expected he would split time there with Sam Ferry, but Ferry underwent off-season Tommy John surgery and is going to redshirt this season, which leaves the door wide open for the draft-eligible sophomore from Taiwan. Next, let's take a look at the corner infielders. As a freshman, Carter Aldretti played all over the diamond last year and was one of 3 Sun Devils to start every game. He has spent the summer, fall, and winter settling into the third base position, a change from his natural shortstop. It would take a lot for someone to replace him there. Jeremy McEwen is another guy who played nearly everywhere last year. Also a natural shortstop, he's agreed to give first base a try, citing that he'd rather start at an unfamiliar position than be a backup somewhere like short. Up the middle is the dynamic duo of Alika Williams and Drew Swift. The two are also natural shortstops and have been heavily compared to each other. They could easily be interchangeable at various points throughout the season, but to start at least, Swift is going to be the shortstop and Williams will be the team's everyday second baseman. Another name to keep an eye on for the middle infield is actually a guy competing for the left field job, Gage Workman. Workman graduated from high school a year early, but with Swift and Williams cementing their places defensively, Workman will battle for the left field job. Spencer Torkelson, Taylor Lane, and Miles Denson are all in that conversation. But, per Tracy Smith, Trevor Hauver is starting the first game. Smith has also said, though, that it's a wide open competition, and you have to imagine the seniority of guys like Lane and Denson will likely factor into who secures the starting spot come Pac-12 play. Now, it's interesting because the other 2 outfield spots are just about as cemented as any position on this team. Hunter Bishop saw time at the corner outfield spots last year, but he's going to start this year in center field. Gage Canyon, who split time between right and center last year, will be the team's everyday right fielder all season long, as coaches want his strong arm down the line in right field. For now, a lot of positions seem set in stone, but if last year was any indication, that can change in a heartbeat. Injuries, poor performance, and offensive surges can shake up a lineup overnight. For now, we'll just have to wait and see. ASU baseball is back, and the 2018 season kicks off this weekend at Phoenix Muni.
Excellent stuff, Nick, as always. As we look ahead to the start of the season for ASU baseball, the team takes on Miami of Ohio this weekend. After that, they have series against St. Mary's, Long Beach State, Oklahoma State, and UNC Wilmington before starting Pac-12 play. Now, for more on the season that is about to begin, we bring in WCSN baseball expert Bobby Krause. Bobby, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it's no secret that Tracy Smith has brought in an incredibly talented freshman class, a lot of highly touted players, but who for you are a couple players that are going to stick out and be immediate impact freshmen?
Well, you're right, Andre. It's no secret that Tracy Smith now regularly brings in top recruiting classes to Phoenix. The 2 guys for me that stand out are up the middle, Drew Swift and Alika Williams. These guys, what makes them so dangerous up the middle is that they are essentially the same player. They are very adept with their hands. They have good footwork around the bag. They're incredibly quick. They both can play second base and shortstop. If Tracy Smith wanted to switch them up, that would definitely be a possibility for him. They're going to be starting on opening day from the start. I think that gives them an advantage over the rest of the freshmen on the roster, but they could make a huge impact on this team in 2018.
Now, one thing that had a huge impact on last year's team was the lack of a pitching coach. Now this team has Mike Cather on staff. Who out of all the people in that pitching staff is going to benefit the most?
I think it's sophomore lefty Spencer Van Scoy. He saw limited time in the rotation last season. This season going in, he's Tracy Smith's Friday night starter. That's a huge jump forward from freshman to sophomore year. You look at him at his numbers last year, 28 innings, 30 walks. But his ERA was in the high 3s, and his batting average against was in the low 200s. All of those things are coachable and able to be worked out. I think with Cather in-house from the start of the season, get Van Scoy into a groove and let him have a sole voice behind him in terms of Mike Cather, I think that can do wonders for him.
Now, definitely a down year for ASU baseball. They had the 30-win season streak snapped at 54 last year. So realistically, what do you see as a good win total for this team?
I think it's right around the mark that Tracy Smith got to in his first 2 years. 36 wins the first year, 35 the second. I think that those numbers are definitely attainable for this team. Realistic expectations is them getting back into the NCAA tournament and losing in the regionals. I think lofty expectations are they're securing a regional win, playing in a super regional, and being able to have a chance to go back to Omaha for the first time since 2010. It's baby steps with this program for sure.
Good stuff as always, Bobby. For the rest of his and the rest of our outstanding baseball coverage teamwork opening weekend and beyond, be sure to check out cronkitesports.com.
From the bats to the bars, it's gymnastics time. The Gym Devils came out hot, but have cooled off a bit in recent weeks. In their last 2 meets, ASU's average score was nearly a full point lower than their first 4 of the season. Throughout the year, head coach Jay Santos has been clear that the team's goal is to be one of the best 4 teams in the Pac-12. But if the season ended today, well, they would be 5th. ASU will have to catch up to either Oregon State or Washington in the upcoming weeks. Although ASU just suffered defeat in Corvallis, the streaking Washington Huskies come into Tempe this weekend. allowing a huge opportunity for ASU. The squad needs to get back to stuck dismounts and clean lines in order to score in the 196s again. You can catch the number 17 Gym Devils face off against the number 13 Huskies Saturday at 11:30 a.m. in Wells Fargo Arena. Drew, take it away.
Great work, Tyler. Now we get into women's lacrosse, an exciting brand new program who surprised many this past weekend, picking up 2 wins. WCSN lacrosse reporter Spencer Hardenberg joins us in studio. Thanks for being here, Spencer.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so basically, and quite simply, how were they able to do this? I mean, this is a brand new program overall. You can't get off to much more of a hot start than this.
Exactly. This is a pretty ideal start for them, obviously, their first 2 games in program history, and they won both. The key to this was they got off to really hot starts in both games. Listen to their combined first half stats: 17-7 on goals, 48-22 on shots, and 35-15 on shots on goal. So they got off to really hot starts and didn't look back from there. And also on a individual stat note, Carrie Clayton had 12 combined goals in both games and won National Player of the Week honors this week, and that's huge for her, huge for this team moving forward for sure.
Yeah, that's incredibly impressive. However, in those 2 games, there were still some flaws, and obviously there's some kinks that you have to work out. What's one thing in particular?
Well, I just mentioned how hot they started off. They weren't bad in the second half per se, but their score was even with their opponents, so they can definitely improve on that. Also, penalties. They had 8 penalties to their opponents' 3, and turnovers. They had 37 combined turnovers in both games. Again, these aren't bad stats, but they're just something they can improve on. Once this team's composure improves, I think they'll be much better off. You know, they're a new team. They're still getting comfortable out there.
What should we look forward to the next couple games, next couple weeks, and the beginning part of this season?
Well, it's a tough start for them because their first 5 games are all away. They got San Diego State, then they're going to go out to New York and face Manhattan and Columbia. If they play the way that they played these past 2 games, we can expect a 5-0 start from this team, which is an absolute dream for them, considering that, like I said, this is their first year as a D1 program.
All right, for more of Spencer's work, you can catch it on cronkitesports.com. You may not know much about them, but the ASU women's water polo team is one of the best programs at Arizona State. The number 6 ranked Sun Devils took 3 of 4 in La Jolla, California at the Trent Invitational, including 2 top 10 wins over UC Davis and UC Irvine. The one loss to number 4 UCLA by just 1 goal. Graduate senior Alquistis Beneco and sophomore Bente Roja poured in a game-high 2 goals apiece over UC Irvine for ASU to finish 3rd in the tournament. Sun Devils improved to 9-2 overall. They'll take this week off and then head back to Southern California next weekend for their final road tournament of the season, the Barbara Calbus Invitational at UC Irvine.
The Arizona State women's hockey team recently clinched its first playoff berth in program history. This past weekend, the team traveled to Ohio for a weekend slate. The team fell 10-0 to Miami before beating Ohio State to close out the regular season. Entering the rankings at number 15 this week, the team will travel to Fremont, Nebraska to begin the WWCHL playoffs.
The ASU men's tennis team dropped its first 3 matches of the season, but then went undefeated this past weekend at the ASU Invitational. WCSN tennis aficionado Rob Warner joins us. Rob, how will Matt Hill's squad be able to perform better this weekend, or how were they able to?
I think they were able to perform a little bit better because, Drew, like we talked about off air, this is a new program. This is the first team they've had in 10 years, so these guys had to get used to college tennis a bit. Their first 3 matches, they were really thrown into the fire. 3 top 25 teams in Duke, Texas A&M, and TCU. These 3 other teams in Fresno State, Cal Poly, and LMU were good teams, but a little bit less talent than the other teams they faced early on in the season. I think they had some more confidence. They exhibited that on the court as they got those 3 wins.
You mentioned it. Brand new program, brand new team. Who's one person in particular who has really stepped up and maybe taken on that leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. One person that's really stepped up to me this year is sophomore Maki Rakoto Malala. The freshman really has shown a flair for getting the crowd involved, and really at the Whiteman Tennis Center, it seemed like it's helped bring the fans and the team together, getting that kind of mojo that they want, especially with a first-year team.
This weekend, the team heads back to Southern California, and they take on the University of San Diego and then Pacific. How do you think they'll fare this weekend?
Well, I think these are two kind of underrated matches for the Sun Devils. San Diego's a good team. They're coached by Ryan Keckley. He's a good, solid young coach, and this team has actually had some mixed results. They're 3-1 on the season. They've beaten TCU, but they lost to Duke. So kind of confusing how you beat a top 10 team ranked in the country, and then you lose to a team that's a little bit worse than that. I think this is going to be a tough match for the Sun Devils, but I think they can win that. And then I think Pepperdine is a little bit of an easier test. They're just 1-6 on the short season. I think ASU should get the sweep this weekend, and I think they will.
And if they are able to do that, they'll improve to 5-3 overall. Thanks, Rob. For more of his work, you can check it out on CronkiteSports.com.
This season has been an up and down one for head coach Charlie Turner Thorne and company. Sitting at 17-9 overall and 8-6 in conference, the team is looking for some late season momentum to propel them into tournament play. For more on the late season push, our reporter Alex Gall spoke with Turner Thorne and a couple players at practice.
We didn't do some things as sharp as we needed to do, and all I can say is that's just something that we're very inconsistent with, and it bit us in the butt.
It just came down to execution and rebounding, and we just didn't get those things done. So, unfortunately, we lost those games.
Sunday we played some really good basketball, and I even think Friday we played some good basketball. We have to be more consistent. We got to finish stronger. We have to finish strong down the stretch, and to do that, we need to be a more consistent basketball team.
I think for us, we're really hungry coming off this last weekend, and we just need to come together and just play for each other.
U of A is very well coached. They have a great coaching staff. They've gotten better in areas. They make adjustments. They're a very good shooting team. They really shoot the ball well. So that's the key. We just got to be ready to play their shooters, and they're obviously, Adia, she played at U of A. Like, she gets it. Like, she's gonna, really get this team to play probably harder in this game than they play in any game all year long.
Charlie Turner Thorne, one of the best coaches to work with if you're a media member. Also been a member of this social media segment. Scotty Gage, so have you. You've been up on that big screen a couple weeks ago. You've also been right here analyzing tweets. What have you got for us this week?
Well, we got a very fun week of social media, and guys, I think it might be a little better than last week's. So with that being said, I'll just jump right into it.
High praise.
Our first tweet of the day comes from the ASU baseball Twitter account right here. It's a little Valentine's Day offer, $99 season tickets, $5 tickets for any game this weekend. All you have to do is just use promo code VDAY, and look at Hunter Bishop right there, looking good, nice smile, and forks up, right there.
Pretty good deal, too.
So
yeah, not bad.
We're happy here, but we're sad here as Hunter Bishop responds, even my own team's Twitter account knows I'm single. #geez. So it looks like Hunter had to spend his Valentine's Day alone. But gentlemen, were you the same?
I have to relate to Hunter here. Hunter, maybe it's different for you, Andre, but I was alone. I was working. Didn't really do that much to really focus on it all that much.
Yeah, I actually did have a Valentine's Day date for the first time in my life, so I wasn't alone, but I am still very much single.
Wow.
So I feel him on the #G's there.
All right, jumping into the next tweet of the week. It comes from Miss Jordan Nash Bolden of the ASU women's hockey team, the goalie at Jobo the goalie. She writes right here, never go full Statue of Liberty, kids. Look at that, glove in the air just like the Statue of Liberty. Nice photo by Nick Batters on the left. I don't think he took the one of the Statue of Liberty on the right, but he might have. But guys, it kind of reminded me of some pictures I saw of you guys. So, Andre, I was walking down the street the other day, and look what I found right here. It looks just like you.
Wow.
You grab a cane, grab a top hat. I swear it is identical. Is that who you're trying to match after? I don't know.
The resemblance is uncanny as I sit here and cross my legs and lean on nothing.
And Drew, you're a baseball guy, huh?
I am, yes.
Well, look at this. When I see this swing, I think exactly of Mr. Padre from my hometown, San Diego, Tony Gwynn. Look at that. The same form right there. It was the home run derby. Did you win this home run derby? I think you did.
I didn't win. I did okay, though. From the picture, though, I don't know what's worth the face reaction I was making, or that the ball is well below the bat, so probably didn't make contact. I don't know.
It was either a ground out or a swing and a miss, huh?
Hard ground out there from Drew. Great game face, though.
Andre, big top hat guy?
Unfortunately, no. I think my head's a little bit too big. I missed the top hat and fedora wave when I was growing up.
All right, so our last tweet comes from our very own Braden Bell, and you'll watch it right here.
Hello there, and welcome into WCSN's continuing coverage of Arizona State men's basketball. Alongside Braden Bell, I'm Rob Warner at Wells Fargo Arena.
All right, you do it enough. All right, real reason we're here right now, I was nominated to do the ALS Hot Pepper Challenge by the Wes and Witch Show with Harley Yearout. I accept that challenge, and I will now nominate the two anchors of Cronkite Sports Live tomorrow. Good luck with that, fellas. And Rob, I'm nominating you right here. So here's a pepper for you. I brought one for you. We're gonna eat this thing. ALS Hot Pepper Challenge, and you guys have fun with this because I hate spicy food.
You kind guy.
He didn't know this was going to happen, so this is good. All right, here we go. Ready?
All right.
3?
All right, 3.
1, 2, 3. It's pretty hot. Another bite. All right, here we go, folks. Challenge accepted. Pepper toss.
Well, you guys saw it. You are all challenged, and because I'm here, I can't just sit here and watch. So we have 3 peppers. I'll join you in the fight right here. So I'm gonna take them out.
You're better suited for this than I am, Andre. I know you like the spicy stuff. This isn't really my expertise.
But before we do this and our mouths are on fire for the rest of the show, we do want to challenge 4 former WCSN presidents, Trey Lanthier, Mauricio Casillas, Jake Garcia, and Tyler Paley. You guys are up next.
And this is a jalapeno, by the way. We're not pulling a bell pepper or anything like that. So
Oh no, no joke
I'm gonna
here.
be feeling it at least.
Okay. Gentlemen,
Cheers.
cheers.
Clap.
All right,
Yep.
not bad yet.
Hit me.
It's coming though. Yep, just a
I'm gonna
couple.
walk away now. How are you handling this? I mean,
You know what? We're all right so far.
I'm not doing so well.
We're gonna get through this.
All right. Okay, Scotty.
Thank you guys. That's all the tweets I
I
got.
appreciate it. All right.
Good work, Scotty, as always.
We'll let our mouths cool off here a little bit. We'll head to send it over, to Henry Steiner with Impact.
Thank you very much for that very spicy social media, Scotty. It's been quite an exciting week for Pac-12 sports and college men's basketball in general. An exciting Thursday for Pac-12 play saw not only 1, not 2, but 4 out of the 5 games come down to the final minute of play, with both teams in at least 2 possessions of each other. The big matchup of the night was no different, with number 17 Arizona locking horns with the number 25 ranked Sun Devils. Down 17 early, ASU bounced back and outscored the Wildcats by 24 over a 15-minute span. The game was then back and forth until Arizona's size proved to be too much for the scrappy Sun Devils, and the Wildcats pulled ahead for the win 77-70. Fear not, State fans, as ASU proved once again why they belong in the big dance. As per recent bracketology, ASU is a projected 7, 8, or 9 seed in the big dance. Although they're an abysmal 7-7 in a weak Pac-12 conference that will most likely only send 3 or 4 teams to the NCAA tournament, ASU seemed to rediscover a lot about themselves, including their scrappy nature and fight that led them to a perfect 12-0 non-conference record to begin the season. Largely outclassed and outmanned by the Wildcats, the Sun Devils came storming back with pesky defense, scrappy offense, and a barrage of threes, as ASU proved once again that they can come back from anything. The 2 Pac-12 teams poised to make the most noise this March are the 2 from last night's matchup, as Arizona is poised to continue their early March dominance, most likely as a 3 or 4 seed, and with Arizona State as a dark horse Final Four candidate. They have already beaten projected 1 and 2 seeds Xavier and Kansas at a neutral site and on the road respectively, and have proven that they have what it takes to hang with the best. Back to you guys at the desk.
Henry, thank you. And now it's time for The Way It Is. You guys know the drill. We'll have 3 topics. We'll debate it a little bit. Yep. Andre, we'll start off. My mouth is still on fire, by the way.
There's still a burn here.
That is
most
no joke.
definitely.
All right, so obviously ASU lost U of A last night in basketball. What's more important overall in their season, if they got that win or the Pac-12 tournament to come?
You know, I think the loss is going to be huge for them because I think the loss has a big impact on where they are in the Pac-12 tournament. And I think the fact that the more they continue to lose in Pac-12 play, the lower their seed in the conference tournament becomes, the harder that first round matchup gets. So I think this loss is going to be bigger than a lot of people think.
I think especially heading in the NCAA tournament, it's all about confidence. So I'm going to say that actually this loss last night wasn't as big of a deal. If they can come out in the Pac-12 tournament, who knows, maybe even win it, they'll get some redemption there, maybe another chance to play U of A potentially. I'm going to say that's bigger.
Absolutely, and we didn't talk about it on this show, but there's a rule change in NCAA softball that is really targeting slash hitters. You have to keep your entire front foot in the box at the point of contact. Now, how much of an impact does this rule change have on ASU softball this year?
All right, well, there's no doubt that this is going to be a big deal for a lot of teams. I even saw it last weekend when I was at the Kajikawa Classic. I mean, and it was called multiple times. However, for this team in particular, Arizona State, I really don't think it's going to play that much of a factor. You look at some of the power hitters like Fale Lua, even Nicole Chilson, who is a lefty, just they don't play with that kind of style. So maybe with the exception of Taylor Becerra, I don't think it's going to make that much of a factor.
You know, and I'm going to take the opposite approach because of a player you just mentioned, Taylor Becerra. She's been the catalyst for this team at the top of the order for the last couple years. She is very much a slash-heavy hitter. So I think she's a good enough player, talented enough player to get past that and really kind of adjust. But for that interim period, I think it's going to cause some problems.
All right, last one. We're both fans of the Olympics. Right now, it's the Winter Olympics going on. So if ASU had to add one Winter Olympic sport, what would you choose?
Curling. I don't know what it is about curling. It's like giant shuffleboard. No one really understands it, but you're mesmerized when you're watching it. I think with hockey in the desert, might as well bring curling too.
It's also on probably the most. Like I probably spend my most time during this month watching curling.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with short track speed skating though. A little shout out to
Not bad.
Apollo Ono. I think this is one of the most exciting events overall, and they could do this in the desert, inside, and on a small track.
There you go. Not bad. Now it's up to our producers in the studio to decide who is going to take home the victory today, and the winner gets to ramble just a little bit about whatever we choose. So
And I know they have some good pictures for us, so I don't want to win
seriously,
this
I'm
overall.
still waiting to see my. Oh wow! Look at that hair.
Yeah, yikes.
Where'd that go?
So this was, he was either freshman or sophomore year during Spirit Week, but yeah,
Incredible.
It was a while ago. All right, head coach Charlie Turner-Thorne has led the Sun Devil women's basketball program for 21 years. You don't get that long of a string without doing something special. Postseason in 17 of the last 18 years, a couple of Elite Eight appearances, but even look past that. She's earned the utmost respect from every person who's walked through the doors of Wells Fargo Arena. How? I've only seen her operate for 4 years, but she generates more consistent effort and desire out of her players than most coaches I've ever seen. CTT is locked up with a recent contract extension, and when that's over, I can guarantee you ASU won't hesitate to keep the relationship going. To coach across the aisle, Bobby Hurley, who also was granted a contract extension, doesn't have to look far to find who he should emulate his coaching after, because if he does, well, he could have a pretty long tenure just like Turner-Thorne if he so desires. And that, my friends, is the way it is.
Well said, Drew. And now, as always, some of our favorite parts of the show. Top plays, we're going to get into it. Number 3 here, Jade Gortara's ASU softball in the fresh gold uniforms gets caught in the pickle. It's like middle school baseball all over again. The ball comes loose, heads up base running there from her. She's going to be in there with the head first slide. You see there, the tag was dropped. That made the game 5-0 against Nebraska. They would go on and cruise.
It doesn't happen that often at the college level.
Absolutely not.
All right, we head on to number 2, more ASU softball. This is Morgan Howe. Bang, crushes that one. It's a home run in the bottom of the 4th. A 2-run jack for Morgan Howe. It also extended the lead for Arizona State.
Good tournament there from the Sun Devils, and the Kajikawa Classic went 5-0 there, but not good enough to get them the top spot here in our countdown. That honor goes to Mickey Mitchell, the forward, coming in with a monster dunk against U of A. It was absolutely unreal. Trey Holder.
I read an article last week, actually, that Mickey Mitchell, this time last year, couldn't even dunk.
Wow.
So obviously, we know he transferred, right? But apparently he got out of shape, and because of that, he just didn't have it. Hard to believe, considering all the nice dunks that we've seen him so far.
It was a thunderous dunk for sure on a great feed from Trey Holder.
We apologize for those technical difficulties.
But nonetheless, that was a good show.
It was. So that's going to do it overall for us. We're going to let our mouths cool off just a little bit. We need a break. I'm starting to think maybe we should have done that at the end of the show.
Yeah, probably should have been the third the way it is question, but
I
you
was
live
on
and
fire.
learn. Former presidents, it's on you guys now.
All right, so that's going to do it. For everyone on our entire staff, Andre Sims, Drew Andre Sims overall, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time.